Hey everyone, it's February the 2nd and it's Friday. And I figured let's talk about today's workout. It's something I did yesterday, so it's not fresh in mind, but it is. But I'm glad that I had a chance to test it because I have some notes for you that I wouldn't probably have otherwise had. First off, we're deadlifting, barbell deadlifting today, except that the difference is, hopefully we prepared you enough for this difference, and that is this week we're going to use dead stop deadlifts, which is fine. Nothing changes except the speed of your sets. We're going to make sure that we come to a full stop at the bottom of each new rep, ensuring mostly that we have the perfect setup each time. It's going to demand a little extra from our core, but we will see big benefits from this by the end of the cycle. As far as the workout's concerned, we're going to clear the floor again. I can't promise you that every Friday where we practice grunt work will be a clear the floor sort of relay race type WOD, as I like to call it, but it is common when we need to be able to carry things, but it's kind of cold. It's a little still too cold to be doing farmer carries outside. So let's go through it. So today it's a 15-minute AMRAP. And we're not looking for big rounds. It's going to be less than 10 rounds for sure, but that is going to be your score. That is, will be determined by how challenging of a loading you are capable of for some of these dumbbell movements. Now, what do we have? 3, 2, 1, go will all be lined up on an end line exactly like we did last week. And the first movement we're going to do is a overhead, single dumbbell overhead walking lunge. So we'll use one side, so whichever arm you want for 10 meters, and then we'll come back with the other arm. And you will find that, you have different capabilities based on arms. Like my left arm doesn't work as well as my right arm, and those are the types of imbalances that we typically find with dumbbell work, with isolated per side dumbbell work. I'll give a sort of a broad statement about these lunges at the end of this video. So we're going to go up and back with the overhead walking lunge, single arm overhead walking lunge. We're going to we're going to place down nicely our dumbbell, and then we're going to do 10 push-ups. So we haven't done push-ups, so we're not working on bench press this cycle. So got to make sure that we're maintaining our front of us press strength. So let's do 10 push-ups, and we feel like the amount of things that you need to do before you have to do push-ups is so much so that you'll be pretty fresh for these push-ups each time. You'll be fatigued, but you might find that you can sustain bigger sets for longer today, and that's the hope. After your 10 push-ups, you'll stand up and you'll do 10, this is just to tire you out, 10 alternating dumbbell snatches, a movement that we are all very familiar with. After the dumbbell snatches, you will then set out to do 40 meters worth of farmer carry. This is much different than last week, much less grip strengthy, where you're going to stay with one arm up and back, and then you're going to go to the other arm up and back. And really it's all about, how many rounds you're able to get today is going to be in part due to your transition times. Can you go right from that last dumbbell snatch right into your farmer carries? Let's find out. One thing to note is that I just mentioned not as much grip strength on this week's farmer carries. Obviously, for one, you're only holding one dumbbell this time. But another thing is, you may find, as I do, that the single arm version of a farmer carry is a little bit different, awkward. You have to fight to keep yourself upright with your obliques. Because otherwise, regardless of the loading of that thing, it's going to want to drag you to one side or the other. Whereas when you have two hands on dumbbells or a double-sided farmer carry, things sort of naturally balance themselves out. You worry only about pulling your shoulder blades back. So you're going to find that you get taxed on your obliques more this week, and it's a little bit of an awkward thing. Now, that's on purpose. But also keep in mind that we don't want you to let the thing carry you down. So you have to try to straighten yourself up. As in most weeks when there's a carry programmed, we want you to think of it as a hurry. You can rush, but you may find that your ability to rush with a single arm farmer carry is somewhat limited as compared to a double dumbbell farmer carry because of that requirement to keep yourself upright. And then we start the whole thing over again and get as many rounds as we can in 15 minutes. Now let's talk about those overhead lunges. I think people are going to rub up against that. I will say that there is precedent for this stuff in the open specifically, which is why we're doing them. So 17.2, so back in 2017 was the first time they introduced dumbbell lunges. That was a double dumbbell lunge requirement in the open, where you could hold them anyway. This wasn't overhead. But in 2019, 19.3, the single arm overhead walking lunge was introduced. So they've been in the open before. Man, I always feel like they might come back into the open. And that's why we like the single arm overhead walking lunge. And we want as many people as possible to actually do them. Don't modify them down. Find a loading that you can use and still get that knee to the ground. We got to work on that. This is the kind of day, whereas I was very staunch in saying the opposite last Friday because of logistics, really. This is the kind of day where you can use multiple dumbbells for the movements if you have to. Obviously, it's not the goal, but if you're like, hey, I can challenge myself on the overhead lunge, but if I do, I won't be able to use that same loading for the alternating dumbbell press or something like that. You could convince me that you need a separate dumbbell for each of these movements today. You could, and if we have the inventory, we'll do it. All right, guys, enjoy this one. I liked it a lot.